representing the Liberal Democrats and so much more. Common sense man, vote for him any chance you get, is our mate David Leyonhjelm. Now, just quickly, we have tried to condense the same-sex marriage debate into 60 seconds each and every night because we know how wearisome all of this is. So can we start tonight's same-sex marriage minute, all you need to know? Enrol to vote. That's the same-sex marriage minute. Finished? Stop? Can we stop the clock? 53 seconds. Excellent. Good. aec.gov.au. But I will just ask, though, Senator Leyonhjelm, you know, you're a details guy, right? And it's one of the most fascinating things about always talking to you is that you can always find the details somebody else has forgotten. Now, you have presented bills for same-sex marriage, you've argued for it, it's all very clear what your position is here, but it is amazing how the government is not really putting any meat on the bone about how people would be able to object to a same-sex couple if they wanted to with their business, or how will the Racial Discrimination or the Discrimination Act be absolutely clear and ironclad that two people can't force a priest to marry them. And these are all the things that the No case are using to help get No over the line.
Absolutely correct, absolutely correct. I think the government's making a mistake in not telling us what kind of same-sex marriage would we get. I will vote yes, just because I have sympathy for the people who actually want to get married, the couples who want to get married. They're the only people I give a stuff about, to be quite frank.
I'm with you.
But I think that it won't get as strong a vote as it could get, because there are conservative people who are saying, well, what about the cake baker, the florist, you know, the owner of a venue, who says, well, look, you know, same-sex marriage is dead against my beliefs. I don't want to have a bar of it. Then they find themselves in trouble with the Sex Discrimination Act. Now the issue isn't just about religion, though, and that's a mistake that I think the gay liberal lobby, you know, Tim Wilson and Dean Smith and the others who put up their own bill, they had a big carve out for religion, but they over-egged it. And the other thing is, it's not just a religious thing. Traditional Aboriginals, for example, don't believe in same-sex marriage. They had a bark petition, and they put copies of it all around Parliament House. I've got one in my office in Canberra. Now, let's suppose a same-sex couple wanted to get married on traditional Aboriginal land. You need permission to go onto Aboriginal land. And so they applied for permission, and the Aborigines traditional owner said, no, same-sex marriage is against our culture, we're not going to let you on. Now, they could be dragged up before the sex discrimination charges. Who would want that? Now, you know, typically we would be really cynical and say, well, no Aborigine would get charged under that Sex Discrimination Act. But technically they could, and I think we need to know, is that sort of liability going to exist? Because the plebiscite passes and we end up with same-sex marriage being legalised.
Yeah, see, because the assumption would be, OK, the safeguard in all of this is that there will be a parliamentary debate, people like yourself will be able to amend the legislation to clarify all of these issues. But the reality, too, is that because everyone's going to want it to be over sooner rather than later, this is going to have a very fast passage through Parliament here. So do you feel that you can feel that the next stage of this is going to be that detailed debate, but do you think it's going to play out with any, you know, time or depth?
What I'm worried about is that the plebiscite might fail, because people who are worried about this issue, worried about the fact, well, can I dissent? Can I have a different view? And there's not much tolerance going on in this debate, I have to say.
I would add one more group to that, David, and that's that I likewise will vote yes. But I think it also extends to other people working within religious organisations like schools and hospitals and things like that. So if you have school teachers that all of a sudden can't necessarily teach the doctrine of whatever religion it may be or whatever culture it may be, I think there's also issues there. So, I mean, I think it needs to happen, but at the same token, there has to be religious freedoms that are built into the Act, that none of these people who have their faith are then going to be pulled before the sex discrimination.
Well, but it's that thing too, where, as you say, it's on top of that. It's not just about the specificity of religion. It's about, you know, the individual's right to say yes or no to whatever they want. But, I mean, I just think it's sort of bad practice, bad business practice to say no to somebody who wants to buy a cake from you. But I understand, you know, why you might want to.
I agree. I don't think it would be smart if you owned a cake shop. But still, do we want to drag people into courts over it? That's the point. I mean, we all discriminate in our lives. It's a normal part of life. it is natural for us to discriminate. The question is, where should the law intrude in our when we do discriminate?